Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining through on our webinar. We are going to be discussing Test Automation 3.0 and how it has evolved into rapid application testing. Just before we get started, we would like to give you a quick overview about today's content. Um, this webinar is sponsored by Signet Infotech, which is in into IT consulting. We have more than 13 years of experience that you can see onto testing ways. Moving forward, here is just a quick preview of what we are as a group. We are, more than a 13 plus years of consulting company, along with lightest and simplest modern automation technology available in the market. We are serving to customers across 20 countries on 5 continents, and we have accomplished more than 100 plus projects on test automation. Today's webinar, we would be covering some of the main topics on rapid application testing, the evolution of test automation from code to codeless, a live demo and case study for test automation 3.0, and recommended tools for test automation. Along with me on the panel, I have Dakshesh, who is the test manager at Signet Infotech, and Neerav, who is the product manager at TestingWiz. I'm moving forward, and Daksha should be taking the podium for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the show, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Hello everyone, this is Dakshesh Shah. I'm the testing manager here at Signet Infotech Private Limited. As Primal has mentioned, the agenda as for the agenda, we want to talk about what is rapid application testing, how test automation would connect with rapid application testing. We want to give us a small demo as well for the test automation 3.0 tool, and we also want to explain why we are calling it a test automation 3.0. In the end, we would just recommend some other tools as well for automation. Let's just get started with rapid application testing. What is rapid application testing? Rapid application testing is another part of agile methodology where we are concerned with rapid application development, where we are coming up with prototypes quickly and handing it over to our customers based on their requirements. If the requirements are changing, this kind of models are really helpful for us. The benefit of using rapid application testing would be there is minimal planning required whenever you're getting started on a new project, so that if you don't have any documentation, don't have any detailed requirements, at least you can get started with whatever idea the customer has, and as and when customer ideas are evolving, you can evolve your product with the same time set. So that's another benefit of using rapid application testing, and as per the current market strategy, that's what most of the people are doing it as and when, because the market is evolving at a very fast pace. So it would be difficult to develop a product from the traditional methodologies. So that's where application testing comes into picture. The other thing, interesting thing rapid application testing involves is the integration of end user in the development cycle. So as you probably, for people who know more about agile methodology or rapid application development, the idea is to involve customers right from starting so that they can provide the feedback on whatever is happening, if they want to include some other features, or say it evolves, basically helps evolve the product right from the gate. So you don't waste on the time developing the features that the customer won't want to use it in the end. So that's what rapid application development would include. Moving forward, how would you be able to distinguish rapid application testing from the traditional models? As I have mentioned already, it has numbers of development cycles with ongoing testing reports, where the number of cycles would depend on features or the types of technology that you would want to use for developing the product. Other thing is fast uptime, as I've just mentioned, that if you want to go to market really quickly with limited feature set and then evolve the product going forward based on customer demands, that's where rapid application development and rapid application testing comes into picture. Both are kind of work hand in hand with each other. So that's where I keep on mentioning about rapid application development as well. The approach for rapid application testing involves exploratory testing. We are trying to involve exploratory testing from the perspective that it gives you a quick overview of the new features that are being involved, how to test them, if there are any major issues with the feature that is being deployed. So exploratory testing gives you a quick overview of how things are working out, and that's why for rapid application testing, more emphasis is given towards exploratory testing rather than going through methodological approach of testing. The obviously, based on this kind of features, the idea is to provide good quality through continuous improvement. As you can see, as a customer gets involved right away from starting phase itself, they are able to provide their feedback. They are also able to take a look at the product and provide the feedback if something is not working. So we'll be able to improve the quality of the product over time before, if they want to evolve the product by going to the market, we can provide a good quality of the product itself. Other thing is, obviously, as we are moving through the cycling phase, different cycles of the same product development cycle, then it would at least allow us to do some risk-based testing where we are trying to limit the risks that are involved in product development, as well as some product inherent risks only. We can remove or try to accomplish testing related to those risk-based testing by using that approach. That's where rapid application testing helps us out. And obviously, we keep on talking about early feedback to customer, as customer is directly involved in the process. We do not have to just wait for their feedback at the end of the product life cycle. Right away, throughout the product life cycle, they're able to provide their feedback. That's the use of, or that's the benefit of using rapid application testing. Now, if you want to employ rapid application testing, obviously, if you want to employ all the things faster, then testing also needs to be done faster. If you want to do things faster, especially the testing part of things, automation is the only solution, because doing the manual testing all over the same different life cycles that different test and development life cycles that we have, it would be difficult to accomplish the same thing within the given time frame. So that's where we would want to utilize automation. But for people who have already implemented automation, people who are in the process of implementing automation may have certain questions in mind, like is it really practical and possible to use automation in an agile environment? Because some people have tried, and some of them have failed. So before moving on to test automation in an agile environment, people keep on asking this question. People keep on wondering about this question. The other thing people talk about is it possible to use traditional tools in the rapid application environment? Is it even possible? How useful it would be? And obviously, the other thing is, what are the challenges involved in implementing test automation in the rapid application environment? So these are certain questions that people come up with, obviously, whenever they want to implement test automation in an agile environment. I would want to answer these questions, but before answering those questions, what I would like to just give you a brief idea about is how test automation has evolved over the time. So let's just get started on that. If you see, if you probably, for people who have been working in the IT industry for quite some time, they would remember that whenever they get started with any kind of testing environment, initially probably 15, 20 years back, or even prior to that, if you wanted to do any kind of automation on your day-to-day tasks, like if you have to keep on repeating the same task, what you would go ahead and do is just write a small script, and that script will do exactly whatever you mention in the script again and again whenever you want to do it manually. Manually in the sense, whenever you want to go ahead and do it, you can just go ahead and execute that script. So that was the first generation of test automation tool, where you could record all your actions as part of your script or a batch file, and it will keep on doing the same task again and again. That's the first generation of test automation tool you can consider, because that's when some of the activities were being taken care by the script files or batch files. Moving on, people started thinking about test automation after that, saying that yes, definitely it's helpful, but how do you increase the reuse or reusability of the scripts that you developed? So that's when people, some companies or individual organizations involved use or reusability of different functions. You can go ahead and create some functions that could be usable across different scripts that you have developed. Uh, to give you an example of this kind of second generation test automation tool, people who are familiar with automation may know about Selenium ID. What it does, it basically allows you to record and playback all of your actions, as well as it has some inbuilt functions. You could utilize it across the scripts that you are developing. So that's the second generation of test automation tool that were coming up into market. Moving forward, obviously if you would remember, if you could just create one script, then you will not be able to execute the same script with different sets of data. And as part of your testing task, obviously you need to check the same application on the same pages with multiple sets of data to ensure that it's working properly and it's providing expected output for different sets of data. That was included, or that was introduced with the third generation tool. Something like Selenium ID also included the same part, but initially that was probably not part of Selenium ID. It was included at a later date of time, so that's why we are calling it as a third generation tool. Still, people felt like there was a lot of coding required for introducing this kind of test automation, and for people who are not familiar with any kind of coding, or they are only familiar with certain type of programming knowledge, it gets difficult for them to incorporate different types of tools in their environment. That's when the fourth generation of test automation tool came into picture, where with the help of automation engineers, people developed some functions, and you could keep on calling functions or methods for doing the same actions again and again as part of your whole test automation suite. That's where terminology like keyword driven framework, hybrid framework came into picture, where people developed some scripts for very frequently used objects or buttons or actions that people used to encounter. That's when fourth generation of test automation tools came into picture. If you want to give an example of that, Selenium WebDriver and QTP are the biggest examples that are available in the market today. All the other test automation tools that are available in the market follow this generation of fall into this particular category of test automation tools. But as probably all of you know that there is a lot of coding required in this developing this test framework. Now, what if someone wants to just go ahead and get started with test automation without any knowledge into any particular coding, or if they do not want to install invest in any coding knowledge enhancement, or they do not want to pay for any particular automation engineer, the way to go forward would be a codeless test automation tool, as you can probably see using this particular test automation timeline. And a lot of people are moving towards that direction. People are, some organizations have already started coming up with tools, or at least a part of things where you can call it a bit codeless, but it's not completely codeless yet. When I say codeless, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any kind of coding involved in it. Obviously, there is coding involved in it, but once the coding part is done, or the testers do not have to do the coding by themselves, they'll get the help from some couple of test automation engineers. They could just go ahead and develop the coding. But the benefit that it provides is, as a tester, we do not need to know coding. It's basically like when you are creating any test case in an Excel sheet, it becomes very similar like that. So we can, whoever has just some basic application knowledge, they can just go ahead and create this automation scripts just by remembering the functionality involved in the web page. So that's the use of this this generation of test automation tool. The benefits that are being provided by codeless test automation tools are, obviously, if the coding part is not required, then the time required for coming up with automation script with this kind of test automation tool would be very limited. We would say almost 80% of your time will be saved by using codeless test automation tools. Uh, the reason for being that is you do not have to code for each and every function. It's already been developed, and you just have to drag and drop or use whatever is already available, and then provide the value that you want to use, and that becomes really easy. The other benefit, obviously, the biggest benefit what I see from my perspective is that domain champions or business analysts as part of your team can get involved in this process. Initially, what used to happen is business analysts were not being able to be involved in test automation processes as they did not understand coding completely, or even some people didn't even know coding much. So that was the reason they were not being able to involve themselves in this whole process. But nowadays, what would happen is if you are using this kind of tools, it becomes they would feel like that they're using English like language when developing their test scripts. So that's the biggest benefit out of using codeless test automation tools, and they would be able to see the benefit right away in user acceptance testing, doing the smoke testing kind of things, and they'll be able to add value in suggesting other scenarios for improving the test coverage. So that's the biggest benefit we see from our perspective. Uh, Obviously, when you talk about codeless, it requires less complexity and less maintenance. So whenever any part of your application changes, you can right away just go ahead and make certain changes, and that's where this kind of tool helps into rapid application testing. That's where I was mentioning why we need to hold off on answering those questions, because we just wanted to showcase how it helps in this kind of tool helps in rapid application testing or agile environment. So these are some of the benefits that you could provide while doing your testing in the rapid application environment. And the other thing we could say is all of the testers who are developing the test automation scripts do not need to know any coding. Then obviously, as I mentioned, there you'll have a couple of automation engineers who are updating the functions or providing new support for the new technologies and all those things like that. But apart from those two people or a couple of people, nobody else needs to know any coding. So they can just right away go ahead and start developing the scripts based on the existing test cases that they have. So that's another benefit, that you do not need to invest in hiring automation engineers or providing training to your in-house people for coding knowledge. So that's another benefit that we have with this latest generation of tools available in the market. After saying all of this, now you would want to ask us a question. Do you have any particular tool for us in mind when you're talking about all these benefits, codeless and everything? So what we would want to do is we just want to give you a small demo of the application currently we have. Why we are calling it codeless, we just want to give you a demo, and why it's very useful, very fast to just go ahead and start creating your scripts. So for that, I'll hand it over to Nirav, who is our project manager for Testing Wiz. He'll just give you a brief demo of the whole tool. Just a second.
Thank you, Daxis, and hi guys. So we'll start with the demonstration part, and I'll switch the screen to the environment that we have, which is we are calling Testing Wiz. So right now you can see an IDE-like tool wherein on the left there are test projects created, and inside the test project there are a set of test cases. On the left we have a few operations and methods we available, and on the right we have a few lines of code, as Dakshesh has mentioned, is written. What I just want to do is there is a web application available with me which is up and running in my local machine, and which looks like this, which is basically a sample application for managing the races, wherein the user can go and create races. He can go and add a few races, can edit them, they can go and delete the races. There are a few validations already in place when we try to create the race. For example, there are a few mandatory fields, and we cannot have a race created for the backdated stuff, and the costing part should not be beyond a particular limit and stuff like that. So there are a few validations already in place so far race creation is concerned. Then in order to have the race fruitful, we have a few runners to be registered, and again there are a few validations in place, and once the runners are created, we just want to verify that whether all the runners are being displayed in the runner list or not. And finally there is a registration module wherein we are trying to map the race and the runners. So when you try to do the registration, we can just pick something from the race and we can go and add some runner into that. So this is a very simple web application wherein there are a few Ajaxing involved. There are a lot of jQuery components already involved. The application is built with the help of Java J2E Grails application, and a few things has been mentioned by SEO and marketing team. For example, there should be a particular title on a particular page, and there should be the caption on once the race is created and things like that. So very basic normal application, and you'd like to automate that with the help of the testing whiz as a tool. So as Dakshash has already mentioned that in order to do the automation, you don't require any kind of programming skills. What you just need to do is you need to pick up the right keywords that is already available in the tool. So far, testing with 3.1 is concerned, we have already 190 plus operations and actions available. So when I say opening up a particular page, then that is an action. Then I want to click on a button, I want to select something out from a drop down, I want to tick mark on a checkbox, or I want to highlight a particular element on my web page. Then all these, in order to perform all these operations, we have some keyword available which can do your job. So generally all the row actions, filling up the forms, feeding in some data in the input boxes and the password boxes, selecting something out from the drop downs, and every of these actions can be performed with the help of a built-in recorder. So we can go and try out a simple test case wherein I would like to demonstrate a few recording elements, and then we can go and probably play it back. So there is an inbuilt recorder available with me. What I want to stress upon is how we can utilize the existing functionality of the recorder, and how we can write down the boilerplate code actually. So I'm taking up some actions, and on the left you can see that some things are all being created. Like I opened up a web page, so it recorded something like open page and some value is kept. And then I did clicking on a particular link, so it did this click and wait on a particular element, and now I'm going to create a race. You can see that all these steps are being created in the background. So as I keep on moving with feeding up the values, it will create needful steps. And once I'm done with creating the race, what I basically want to do is I should be verifying whether the record that I was trying to insert, whether it has been added successfully, whether the information what I entered is being visible on the next or the success page or not, whether the title of a particular page looks like or it sounds like a particular text or not, and kind of validations. So all these stuffs is it's a raw code for me, and now it's time to add a few check statements so that my test case is actually valid. So we can go and check these things out. I'll just reset the perspective so that we can have a full look. All right. So almost on a similar guideline, I have a test case wherein what I'm trying to do is opening up the page, then highlighting a few elements so that we can know, okay, what is going on, then clicking on buttons, then checking text availability of checks, that whether there is a label create race is there or not, then doing a few stuff, and finally we are checking that once the race is created whether a text is visible or not, and then we are trying to verify a few text. So let's go ahead and execute this test case which was built. So right now we are supporting 5 different browsers. So once the test case is recorded, it can be played back on Mozilla Firefox, then Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Opera, and Safari. All latest browser versions are supported, and this should be the local resource on your machine. So let's go and try to execute this test case what we built on Google Chrome. So it should be opening up an instance of Google Chrome. It should be opening up the URL of my interest. We'll try to create the race with the predefined set of data that I have added, and then it will try to verify a few titles and the existence of text. So it has opened up the create race menu, and it will try to feed up the name, start date, city, state, distance, cost, and the runners. And once the race is created, it will try to verify whatever was filled in, whether it is displayed on the list page or not. So right now an execution is going on with Google Chrome. It ended up with a success message that race has been created successfully, and the race that was created was Indian Prix. So it should ended up with a success message. So here is the result wherein the stepwise details are mentioned, that opening up a page, this was resulted in pass, and it took almost 2.41 seconds, and we have details available for all of this, and a log is printed that it has verified the existence of text. Once it is back on the show res page, then whatever we had entered in at the time of creation of res, the same value is present in my view page, and it is trying to verify things like that. So this is a very simple use case wherein we created a race and we tried and verified a few things out. Moving next, we have a few validations to be tested. As we are talking that on creation of a race, there are a few validations. For example, you cannot have a backdated race created in your system. Then you cannot have the cost of a race more than say 100 USD. And a few fields are mandatory, they cannot be blank and things like that. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to check all these things out with the help of validation message. You can see a new kind of keyword over here, that is loop. So all these steps right from step 8 to step 18 are going to be performed inside the loop with the help of data called new race, and there are a few fields available. So what exactly we meant by that is there is a placeholder available with name new race, and there are a few set of data kept inside. So right now I have 3 records, and the last column is most interesting, that is the validation message that the system will end up showing. So I'm trying to verify if this is the set of data I'm trying to enter in my race, then this should be the validation message. If this is the kind of data, that is row number 2, it should end up with saying this particular error message, because that is my test log. And if all data is proper, then it should show me a proper confirmation message that the race has been created, and there should not be any validation message on my screen. So I have utilized this data it's a kind of data-driven framework as well in addition to keyword-driven. So I have essentially made use of that data instead of specifying the hard-coded data. So this particular test case should be executed for 3 different set of data, and we should be having appropriate validation messages. Like over here it is trying to add a few things, and over here I have created a method which should do the validation part. Like we can go and check that what is written in validation message as a method. So this is the method wherein I'm just checking the existence of a particular div that is being visible when the error message is reported, and we are checking the existence of text, and we are trying to compare it with the validation message that is already there in my placeholder. If it is there, then it should show up me the validation message, and if there is no validation error reported on my page, then it should verify the title of next or the success page. So that is there listed as a part of else statement. So very straightforward case, but should give a clear idea that how an easy task can be performed with the help of a few recorded steps and a few manually added check and loop statements. So we can just go and execute this step. So again, it should be opening up the URL, and it should try creating a race with 3 different set of data that is already mentioned. So it is clicked on new race, should verify the title. Then the first row will be picked up, and the data will be kept on the create race menu. So right now it is performing this thing, and it is picking up data from row number 1, that is this. Like it should give all these values, and over here it is verified that okay, this should be the validation message that past is past and you should be scheduling races in the future, and that's true. So now I'm trying to give a cost that is more than 100, and that is not acceptable by system. So it says that cost must be less than 100. So this is the validation message I was expecting when providing the cost to 1000 USD, and it ended up with the validation message, and that was verified by the test case. And now it is executing the third scenario, which is a proper and positive one, and it should not end up with any validation message, but the race created successfully. So this is what being made with the help of a single test case on validation. We can go and test out as many combinations as we want to. So it's just a matter of putting all the required details on my placeholder, and it should keep on iterating over the set of data. So since the execution is over, now we should be having the report, and again the report would be iteration wise, since we have had 3 iterations. Iteration 1 was with the validation message. Iteration 2 was with a different set of data, and again verification on some other test message. That was this cost must be less than 100, and the final one with the success criteria. So at the end I have iteration wise details available with me as a part of reporting, and I can make use of that in order to report it to my manager or to my lead. So once we are done with creating races, and we can go and create the runners, so that finally we can associate runners with the races and we can do rest of the job. So over here we are just trying to compare a few things on text availability, title checking, and we are trying to see something is visible in the form of table or not. Whatever race or whatever runner is created, it should be displayed back on the list of runners, which is being displayed in the form of table. So let's try and execute this thing over, say, some other browser. So I'll go and change my browser to, say, Mozilla Firefox, and now when I say execute this case, then it should be executing my test case to create runners on Firefox. So it should come up with an instance of Firefox and it should do the execution on test case to create the runners. So it has opened up Firefox instance on my local machine. It's clicking on runner. Now it will be creating a new runner and will feed in all the required details. And once it is done with that, it will try and verify whether the record is available on my runner list, which is a table. So over here we can see that right now there are a few fields listed and it is taking up data from here. Like all these details are being filled and that is obviously a placeholder. So all these details are being filled and it's this. And once it is done with filling up all these records, we can go and do needful checks. Like sometimes I might want to make a check that it's okay that the things are being displayed on my list page, but sometimes programmers might be playing with sessions and they are not creating actual data on my database. So runner has been created successfully and it is also being displayed on my list page, but whether the runner was created actually on my database or not. So if we want to do that kind of backend check, then we can very well go and write down a few statements on testing with, and that can do the backend testing for us. So in order to do that, we have the support available for doing testing of databases like MS SQL, MySQL, IBM DB2 and Oracle. So the connections can be formed and we can simply write a few steps and backend testing can be done. So we executed the runner creation and again the report was presented. We also have a few details available on the environment wherein this was executed. It executed on Windows 7 and it took almost 2 seconds, and that was executed on Mozilla Firefox version 13. The next module is to associate the race and runners. So it is just picking a few things from the drop down box of race and the drop down box of runner, and it is trying to associate these things. And once the registration and runners, among the runners and the race is made, it is trying to verify the association from the same module. So a very basic use case, but when we are working on say some maintenance projects and these three modules, that is race, runner and registration, if we think that they are stable enough, then and all new development whatever we are doing around that, and we want to make sure that nothing is getting broken when we are doing some other modules, then we can just form this script, we can put it over a scheduled execution and we can get it executed on a very frequent or periodic manner. So when a new build is created, this regression shoots will be executed automatically against that, and we can make sure that nothing is broken. And again, same thing can be executed over multiple browsers. Like we have support for all 5 standard browsers available, and that can be executed. So it did some association for the race and registration. We created that registration, and in this use case we have deleted that registration. So it should come up with some standard error message confirmation, and then it will try to verify this thing. So registration was created, was edited and was deleted, and the things were handled with the help of a very simple steps like this. So this kind of regression shoots can be created very simply the way we did this test case. Like all these steps, it took almost 3-4 minutes to build the test case, and adding up required if statements, check statements and the loop statements, and that can simplify our job. And this kind of scripts can be kept over scheduled execution, that whatever scripts you are having, you can just put it over here. You can select the trigger you might want. You can specify the browser, and you can specify the concerned stakeholders email address. So these jobs can be executed again and again over a scheduled execution, and reports can be retrieved by the stakeholders. So this can simplify our lives, and it's only one time that we need to spend our efforts on creating this kind of scripts, and that too is no programming is required. So with this, I'll hand over back to Dakshesh for moving on with the presentation, and I'll see you guys back again in the question and answer session, whatever questions you might have. Thanks.
Thanks, Nirav. With this demonstration, we just wanted to showcase the abilities of codeless test automation tools and how it would be useful in the rapid application testing environments, where the fastness would be required for all the testing tasks that would be performed over different cycles, and the regression testing has to be done very quickly. That's where we are mentioning where test automation tools, specifically codeless test automation tools, would come into picture and would help us out. And it showcases, obviously this presentation should give a pretty good idea of where the future of test automation tools is going towards. Moving forward with our presentation, if you want to know more about Testing Wiz comes into two different editions, Enterprise and Pro. If you want to know more about it, you can go to our website, or just go through this presentation at the end of this presentation, or we will be uploading that onto YouTube as well within the next couple of days or so. But this gives you all the features that are available as part of Testing Wiz and why it's very useful. As Nero has mentioned, one of the feature was scheduler and how it would be useful as and when you are making any changes, and new changes, we have to ensure that nothing gets broken in the regression suite. So that's also one of the things that you could accomplish. It will be done automatically without manual intervention, and reports should be generated. So, and these are the comparison between the two different editions, Pro Edition and Enterprise Edition. Pro Edition is basically targeted towards single users, whereas the Enterprise Edition would be suitable in a team environment where people can coordinate with each other and make use of different integration with test management tools, defect management tools. So that's where this kind of Enterprise Edition would be most useful. If you want to obviously know more about it, you can visit us at www.testing-wiz.com, but you can definitely get in touch with that. Apart from Testing Wiz, there are some other tools available in the market for test automation, as if you can just go through this website or slide, that QTP, almost all the test automation engineers are aware of. Then Rational, Water, Test Complete, Selenium. If you want to talk more about the mobile test automation, MonkeyTalk is one of the tools that is most useful. Silk Mobile is another option for testing across different platforms with different screen sizes, different devices. If you want to test it on real-time device, that's one of the best used tools. So this gives you an idea of what different test automation tools are available in the market. But if you want to talk more about codeless, obviously Testing Wiz is obviously there, and if you want to know more about it, get in touch with us. Apart from this, if you have any questions, right now would be the good time to ask about questions. I'll hand it over to Premal for a second.
Hey guys, so that sums up some of the great things about what is test automation 3.0 and what kind of tools to look after. Testing Wiz is one of the most prominent front runners out there. I would like you to download the trial, have a hands-on to it, and see how you can implement test automation 3.0 within your organizations. We would be starting up with a few of your questions, you can just